right. So, what are you doing for the project that's going on?
For the trial,
Yeah.
I'm Edna Pontellier, so I'm the one being put on trial.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Do you like this sort of like role-playing sort of thing?
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, it's definitely much better than taking, like, a normal final.
Oh, it's the final?
Yeah.
Oh, that is fun. So when is the actual trial?
The trial is next week, I believe, on Wednesday, because that's when we have our, like, big 2-hour block in the class.
Mm-hmm. So you have block class on Wednesday in this class?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's either 1, 2, 3 or 1, 3, 5. It changes every year, really.
Mm-hmm.
But we only have half of our classes, so we can have a lot of time.
Very good. Well, that's exciting. Is the whole class pretty into it?
Hmm?
Is the whole class pretty into the...
Well, there's people who take it really seriously, especially people on the prosecution, because there's some strong opinions, and there's a few people that are just kind of like, all right, kind of there, and like, I'm willing to participate.
Yeah, well, that's fun. Have you enjoyed reading The Awakening?
Actually, yes, it's one of the books I've enjoyed reading more. I actually do relate to Edna pretty significantly.
Oh, good. How so?
Part of it just sort of, like, there's sort of elements of my personality that don't exactly fit into even current social norms, and then her struggle with what's pretty clearly mental illness is something that I can relate to.
Right. So you get into a book more if you can relate to a character.
Yeah.
Do you like reading in general?
Yeah, I do like reading. I mostly just read the books that we're doing in class, though, just because that's like, it's enough for me, and I do enjoy most of them.
Yeah. Are the books that you come across in the class a challenge for you?
Kind of depends on the book. There are definitely ones that are challenging. This one tended to be challenging because of sort of a very vague description of what's going on. It could be hard to tell.
Right.
And it just really varies from book to book.
Yeah. So when you're reading this book or other books and you come across something you don't know, what do you do?
Honestly, I usually will just like look up on SparkNotes what's happening.
SparkNotes.
Or just kind of, did X event happen, if I'm not really sure.
Right. So you use SparkNotes to clarify the events of the book? Okay.
I do make a point to like read the whole text, though.
Right. On SparkNotes or?
Oh, on the book itself, I read the whole thing, but if there's something unclear, usually I'll just look there to see if I can get more of an idea of what happened.
Yeah, so you utilize SparkNotes a lot. Do you do anything else?
Not really. It's just usually it's kind of enough, or maybe I'll just like read over the passage a few times until I feel like I have a better understanding.
So you reread, or you look online. What do you think Miss Farley would tell you to do if you came across something you didn't know?
Maybe ask her or other members of the class.
Use other people's resources.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I just kind of, honestly, it's just more of a tendency to be independent and like, I don't know, almost an ego thing. Just like, I understood the book, what are you talking about?
So, would you consider yourself a good reader?
I think so, yeah.
Why so?
Well, first of all, I do, there's people who don't always like to read the whole book, but I read the whole thing, and I usually do understand what's happening, and like sometimes maybe I go to the end of whatever chapter I was reading, and I'll stop and think about it and try to sort of process it a little bit more.
A reflection, sort of?
Yeah, and try to more form my own opinion on it.
Nice. So, I heard you say some skills that make you a good reader, which is reading the piece in its entirety and doing like a summary, reflection, understanding piece at the end of chapters. Is that what you said?
At the end of chapters, kind of at the end of sometimes it's intermittently while I'm reading it. I might stop and kind of consider what's going on. Or sometimes it's just I read whatever block of text that I decided to read that day, and then kind of try to process it and like link it back to whatever was happening earlier, and just try to give myself an idea of the narrative as a whole.
Right.
And then I also, something that's important to me is like trying to understand why the author wrote this piece, what their intention was, and looking for any kind of repetition of themes or symbolism. Like if a certain thing comes up a lot, like I read A Handmaid's Tale, and one thing that came up very, very frequently was the color red, and trying to notice things like that and figure out why they chose to use those things.
Right. So you try to find the significance and meaning that the author has in mind. Yeah, that's great. What are some other tools that you think good readers use while they're reading?
Maybe going back and reading something you read earlier if it relates to what you're reading now. Like if you're at, I don't know, chapter 12 and you read something that reminds you of chapter 2, going back and seeing and reminding yourself of what's going on then so you can connect it better.
Okay, so connecting what's happening in the specific text to what's happening earlier in that same text?
Yeah, and then also I think considering the time period when it was written to see what was going on at that point in time, because it's usually pretty significant. Like Death of a Salesman is really, really significant about when it was written because it was during an economic recession, and that's why everything was in the state that it was.
Right, so connecting what you're reading to the historical context.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be an effective skill for understanding. So when you think about someone who's a good reader, who comes to mind?
Probably just my teachers, for example, like Miss Farley probably is a pretty good reader considering her position as an English teacher.
Why do you think she's a good reader?
Because I guess generally speaking, like when we seminar or something like that, there's things that she brings up that I didn't notice. Bits of significance that maybe I didn't pick up on.
Right, so that kind of goes back to the finding meaning in the text and finding significance in the text. So you think she's a good reader because she finds a great deal of meaning and significance in the text. All right. So when Miss Farley, a good reader, comes across something she doesn't know, what do you think she does?
I would imagine she would probably talk to her colleagues about it, like other English teachers, other people that she knows that are in this kind of a line of work or have experience with this sort of thing. I don't like using the word thing, but I can't think of anything else.
So you think she's hollers over to Miss Downs and says, "What does this mean? What is this?"
I mean, I feel like it's something that would be probably useful and helpful.
Yeah. Great. Is there anything else you want to say about reading?
I feel like something that people need to remember about reading, especially in school, is that maybe even if you're not as into the text as entertainment as you might be, a lot of the times these books aren't because they're fun to read or even enjoyable to read in any way. It's because what happened in these books or around the time these books were written is significant historically and influenced other literature.
Right. So if I hear you correctly, you're saying that when students are given a text to read, maybe they won't like it, but they still need to look for the importance and the significance and meaning in the text. Right? All right. Well, thank you for speaking with me. I really appreciate your help.
It's no problem.
Any questions about the process or? anything like that?
Not really.
Okay, great, thank you.